everybody. My name is Sherrie Maricle. A couple of weeks ago, my friend Sarah Milligan from Jazz Girls, Texas, asked me a really profound question. She asked me, how do you play the perfect swing beat? Now, that's a question that drummers have been asking themselves probably since this instrument was invented and will continue to be discussing for all of eternity. And the really cool thing about it is there's so many ways to interpret the swing beat. So that elusive perfect swing beat is really in the it's in the feel of the beholder and the people creating the music. So something that feels great to me might feel uncomfortable or awkward or even bad to somebody else. And that's the beauty of this music. There are so many different, unique, creative approaches to it. And what I thought I'd do when to answer Sarah's question, I'm going to show you some very foundational exercises to develop your swing feel, because feel is the key, because I'm sure we all know the rhythms and they're really not that complicated, but the way that we make them feel is key to our success and enjoyment as musicians, as drummers, and as bandmates. So I like to interpret my swing feel really from an eighth note triplet. As most of you know, jazz, the underlying pulse of a lot of jazz is the eighth note triplet, jazz phrasing. And that's basically that's the number one thing that I want everyone to think about. And this is the foundational exercises I'm going to show you that are going to help make that triplet feel so intuitive to your being that you never have to think about it again. And that's the goal. That's a goal with a lot of things we practice as musicians on our instrument, is that the technical aspects and some of the feel aspects become very intuitive, so we don't have to think about them, and they're just deep in our reservoir of musicianship that we can just grasp at any time that we want to in a spontaneous and creative way. So this first exercise, basically think of all of the triplets as tenuto, long, legato, smooth, connected. In your mind, when you're singing triplets, as I suggest you do when you first start practicing this, do 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 versus ta 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 ta, because you don't want your jazz beat to sound ta 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 too staccato. You want it to be just, again, I'm going to use these words: smooth, connected, legato, and just seamlessly flowing one beat into the next. And you know what? Even if you're playing a short note, the beat should still always feel legato. You should never have any potholes, or as my old teacher Adam Nussbaum used to say, no groovus interruptus. So this exercise, this is a very foundational exercise. It's all four limbs involved in learning this triplet feel, which is important for contemporary drummers, contemporary jazz drummers, because all four of your limbs are responsible for creating ongoing beat patterns. All four limbs are responsible for responding and interacting with soloists and whatever chart you're playing, from a trio to a big band to a duo. Our whole sound is created with all four of our limbs in a very integrated, interdependent fashion. The limbs, we want them to be independent when they need to be, but they really do all work together to create a full drum set sound. And that's sort of different than how the instrument started, which was, the ride cymbal does this, the bass drum does that, and the hi-hat does this, and the snare drum does that. They had real roles, and the tom-toms were for that was a good pun. And the tom-toms have for fills. But now it's really, it's a game changer, because the full instrument is used really at all times to your musical taste. So that's why so even if it's your first day playing the drum set, this is a great exercise for you to practice. So we're going to do our basic ride pattern based off the triplet: 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1. And that's not going to change. That's going to be our anchor. That is the anchor for the band, and it's the anchor for you when you're practicing this, so everybody can latch on and know exactly what's happening and where beat 1 is. So we're going to take our eighth note triplet. We're going to make it feel great in our left hand on the snare drum, and we're going to put that, again, like all against this, the ride cymbal. We're going to put it in our bass drum, then we're going to put it in our hi-hat. Just an eighth note triplet. We want all of our limbs to be able to feel that. When you do this exercise, you can do it with any phrasing you like. 8-bar phrase, 2-bar phrase, 1-beat phrase. It's totally up to you. Be creative, but have a plan when you practice, and plan to do this for several minutes versus a few measures, because you really need that repetition to ingrain it into your intuitive musical soul. So You know, maybe on the low side, you can dedicate, I'm going to practice this exercise and all exercises, you know, 2 minutes on the short side without stopping. If you want to be really brave, go all the way to like, I don't know, 15 minutes without stopping. Whatever you can do, it's repetition, just exactly like, you know, great batters going to batting practice, or, you know, basketball stars shooting free throws. They do it because that's the foundation of what they do in the game. And this is foundational to what we do as jazz drummers playing a really good feeling triplet oriented swing pattern. So, all right, here we go. I'm putting my metronome on 100. You guys put it on whatever is comfortable for you. And then definitely go below that number and go above that number. And don't skip out on the below part, because playing slow has some extreme challenges, all unique to playing slow tempo. So anyhow, here we go. Here's the ride cymbal. Okay, so just move that triplet around between your limbs. Again, the basic limbs that we're dealing with, not basic limbs, but the basic instruments, the ride pattern, the bass drum, snare drum, and hi-hat. We're not getting to the toms yet, but we will in a minute. But just those, because those are the 4 instruments that we use automatically right out of the bat, almost for every single groove, even jazz and all other grooves. That's kind of where the drum beats start and beat patterns. So that's that. I'm not going to talk about technique, really. If anybody has technical questions about, you know, stroke or foot pedal technique or anything like that, you can contact me at sherriemaricle.com and we can continue that conversation. All right. So the second part of this phase 1 foundational video is going to a more traditional exercise. That's where we have the ride cymbal pattern, the bass drum playing 4 beats to a measure, feathered or very softly, and the hi-hat on 2 and 4. Now we're going to move our left hand, which is traditionally responsible for comping. That was one of the traditional assigned roles. And we're doing this as a foundational exercise because it's important to have fluidity with your left hand and moving around the drums and between the tom-toms and the snare drum as part of your ongoing beat pattern. And again, before getting into any kind of crazy fancy rhythms, which we will in the future, we're just going to stick with our 8th note triplet. And this part of the exercise is the part about fluidity and moving around the kit and finding interesting phrasing within our triplet foundation. So just using the triplet, of course, you can orchestrate anyway. And on the drum set, I have 3 tom-toms. It doesn't matter how many times you have. But keep in mind that you should practice moving counterclockwise when you're practicing these exercises, and also counterclockwise. So don't do everything in the same direction, and definitely start your exercises on the snare drum on beat 1, then start them on the mounted tom. It doesn't matter how many you have, start it on all of them, and then start it on the floor tom. So make yourself start this exercise on different drums and move in different directions. It's good to have that plan. Snare drum, clockwise. Mounted tom, clockwise. Floor tom, clockwise. Snare drum, counterclockwise. Floor tom, counterclockwise. Mounted tom, counterclockwise. That gets your arm and your physiology moving in all different directions. You have this rotating movement. You have this movement back and forth between these drums, and your arm is always at a different angle. So it really helps to develop, again, the different muscle memory and the fluidity and moving around the drums in different directions. You don't want to always be going in the same direction because you don't want to be stuck in that rut. You want to be able to, you just want to have that, again, that great muscle memory that you can move in any direction as needed to respond to the music. So I'm going to do this for you guys in a 3-note triplet grouping, which is the way we always hear triplets, triplet, triplet, triplet. And I'm going to do that so you can really hear the triplet. note grouping. It's all just eighth note triplets, but my phrasing is going to be with a 2-note idea in mind. So that'll sound like this. Then I'm going to do a single note grouping. That's all triplets, but again, just with single notes, my single note phrasing idea. So 3-note groupings, and it could be as many measures as you like, 2-note groupings and 1-note grouping. And that's, again, it's all just eighth note triplets, and it's really amazing how many different kind of phrasing ideas you can get. And what a great practice this is for getting around the drum set with your left hand. And most foundational, again, really solidifying that triplet feel, which to me is crucial for really making your swing pattern feel amazing. So, okay. This is going to be the triplet grouping, the 3-note grouping. Easy triplets, right? Now I'm going to do the 2-note grouping. Here we go. That sounded pretty cool, huh? I hope you think it did. Just all 8th note triplets, but with the orchestrations and different phrase groupings, you get a lot of different sounds. All right, now here's the single note phrasing. So I hope this gives you some really fun and foundational exercises to practice. I like practicing these because they remind me of all the possibilities, and there are always possibilities. And I mean, some of these things, you guys, truthfully, I've been probably practicing these things for like 40 years. Maybe not exactly this, but things like this. And there's just always new elements of it that crop into my playing and that make me just really grateful to want to swing. So I hope everybody is staying safe and sane during these crazy Twilight Zone times we're in, and that everybody is certainly swinging. And if I can help you do that, please contact me, and stay tuned next week for part 2 of how to play a perfect swing beat. All right, Sarah, thank you. Thank you, Jazz Girls Texas.